All right, here we go. Lear Act 4. And today, in this video, we are going to read through Scene 1 and Scene 2 because they're relatively short. So remember that at the end of Act 3, those servants were tasked with taking Gloucester out and giving him to the crazy guy, poor Tom, and then they can go together to Dover. They said, and sniff his way to Dover. And that's what's going to start. Remember that Edgar is still in disguise, but this beginning of Scene 1, Edgar is speaking not in disguise because he's by himself. So he says, "Yet better thus and known to be contemned than still contemned and flattered, to be worse, the lowest and most dejected thing of fortune." He's talking about fate. "Stands still in esperance, lives not in fear. The lamentable change is from the best. The worst returns to laughter. Welcome then, thou unsubstantial air, that I embrace. The wretch that thou hast blown into the worst owes nothing to thy blasts. But who comes here?" Now, Gloucester's walked in with an old man that's leading him. "My father, poorly led, world, O world, but that thy strange mutations make us hate thee. Life would not yield to age." The old man says, "Oh, my good lord, I have been your tenant and your father's tenant these 80 years. Get thee away, away, good friend, begone. Thy comforts can do me no good at all. They may hurt. You cannot see your way. I have no way, and therefore I want no eyes. I stumbled when I saw, full oft 'tis seen, our means secure us, and our mere defects prove our commodities. O dear son Edgar, the food of thy abused father's wrath, might I but live to see thee in my touch, I'd say I had eyes again." We're going to highlight this whole thing right here in green. It's ironic, right? Multiple instances of dramatic irony in this, because he says that I couldn't see when I had eyes, but now that I'm blind, I see. And I'm so sorry, Edgar. I pray that you'll forgive me because I sent you away when you were the one that was trying to, you were loyal to me this entire time. It's ironic because Edgar is right there, right? And he can hear him, but then doesn't do anything about it. "How now? Who's there?" And the Edgar says this as an aside, so the other characters can't hear it. "Oh gods, who is it can say, I am the worst. I am worse than e'er I was. 'Tis poor mad Tom. And worse I may be yet. The worst is not so long as we can say this is the worst. Fellow, where goest? Is it a beggar man? Madman and beggar too. He has some reason, else he could not beg. In the night last night's storm, I such a fellow saw, which made me think a man a worm. My son came then into my mind, and yet my mind was then scarce friends with him. I have heard more since, as flies to wanton boys are we to the gods. They kill us for their sport." So another instance of dramatic irony, because he says, last night when I was around that guy, poor Tom, he reminded me of my son. Well, yeah, he should remind you of his son because it is your son. And then he makes a comment about how it's not really fair on this planet because we have no control over our lives and the gods just play with us for their games, right? Once again, Edgar has an aside. "How should this be? Bad is the trade that must play fool to sorrow and ring itself with others. Bless thee, master! Is that the naked fellow? Aye, my lord. Then prithee get thee away, if for my sake thou wilt overtake us hence a mile or twain. In the way of toward Dover, do it for ancient love, and bring some covering for this naked soul, which I'll entreat to lead me. Alack, sir, he is mad. 'Tis the time's plague when madman leave the blind." This is one of those famous lines from Lear. "'Tis the time's plague when madmen lead the blind." And that is literally happening in Lear, right? That, Gloucester is blind and the madman's leading him. "Do as I bid thee, or rather do thy pleasure above the rest be gone. I'll bring him the best peril that I have, come on it what will." And then he exits. Sirrah, naked fellow, poor Tom's a cold. And then he says this on his own. I cannot daub it further. He's like, can I keep playing this part? Can I keep faking it? I need to just be myself. Come hither, fellow, and yet I must. Bless thy sweet eyes, they bleed. Knowest thou the way to Dover? Both stile and gate, horseway and footpath, poor Tom hath been scared out of his good wits. Bless thee, good man's son, from the foul fiend. 5 fiends hath been in poor Tom at once, of lust as Obdicot, Hobbidance, prince of dumbness, Mahu of stealing, Modo of murder, Flibbertigibbet of mopping and mowing, who since possesses chambermaids and wanting women. So bless thee, master. So he says that part of the reason he's mad is because all these evil spirits have come into his body. And at one time he had 5 evil spirits inside him. So Gloucester gives him a purse of money. Here, take this purse, thou whom the heavens plagues have humbled to all strokes. That I am wretched, make thee the happier. Heavens deal so still. Let the superfluous and lust-dieted man that slaves your ordinance, that will not see because he does not feel your power quickly. So distribution should undo excess, and each man have enough. Dost thou know Dover? Aye, master. There is a cliff whose high and bending head looks fearfully in the confined deep. Bring me but to the very brim of it, and I'll repair the misery thou dost bear with something rich about me. From that place I shall lead, so I shall no leading need. We're going to highlight this in green. So Edgar says, give me thy arm, poor Tom shall lead thee. And then they exit. So in these lines that we just highlighted, Gloucester is saying, take me to Dover. I know of a cliff, and I need you to take me up to the edge of this cliff, and then I'll pay you the rest. I'm giving this as a down payment, and then you take me, and I'll take care of it. So he's planning on jumping over the cliff and committing suicide, and he's asking his son to help him commit suicide. All right. Scene 2, enter Goneril and Edmund the Bastard. Remember, we don't want our most evil characters hanging out with each other. Welcome, my lord. I marvel our mild husband not met us on the way. She's talking about Albany, and she's talking about how he's a wimp. Oswald comes in. Now, where's your master? Madam within, but ne'er man so changed. I told him of the army that was landed. He smiled at it. I told him you were coming. His answer was the worse. We're going to highlight that. So I told him, okay, undo that. We're going to highlight down to the worse. So he's saying here, he told Albany that France had landed with an army and that Cordelia was with them. And he's like, sweet. Yes, now we're going to get some justice here. And then Oswald said, and your wife is coming. He's like, oh, man, come on. So he doesn't like her right now. Of Gloucester's treachery and of the loyal service of his son, when I informed him, then he called me sot and told me I had turned the wrong side out, and most he should dislike seems pleasant to him, what like offensive. So he says he's not happy with what's going on. So Goneril speaking then to Edmund, then shall you go no further? It is the cowish terror of his spirit that dares not undertake. He'll not feel wrongs which tie him to an answer. Our wishes on the way may prove effects. Back, Edmund, to my brother, hasten his musters and conduct his powers. I must change names at home and give the distaff into my husband's hands. This trusty servant shall pass between us. Ere long you are like to hear, if you dare venture in your own behalf as a mistress's command. Wear this, spare speech. She gives him a favor, right? Probably a handkerchief. A lot of times that's what they gave. Maybe a flower or something. Decline your head. And then she kisses him on the head. This kiss, if it durst speak, would stretch thy spirits up into the air. Conceive and fare thee well. So she says a couple things. She says, I want you to go back to my brother Cornwall and lead his army, right? Help him get his army together and help him lead it, right? As like an assistant or a second in command. I'm going to see what I can do with my husband at home to get him to go to battle. And I may have to change names, which means she's like, I may have to take care of him. She gives him a favor, which is a romantic gesture, right? I want you to wear this into battle because I am giving you my name and you're going to fight for me, right? So it seems that as Goneril and Edmund have been traveling together, there's been some romantic things happening, right? They kind of are falling in love with each other. And Edmund looks way better now because he's the Earl of Gloucester. He's been given that by Cornwall. And so now he's a noble. And so she's like, well, maybe if I can't get Albany to do what I want and I don't like him anymore, maybe I'll marry Edmund. So Edmund says, yours in the ranks of death. And then he exits. And then she goes by himself, most dear Gloucester, oh, the difference of man and man! To thee a woman's services are due. My fool usurps my body. Gross. So bad. So she's like, I love Gloucester so much. She loves Edmund. And she says, there's such a difference between my husband and Edmund because she's evil. And so she wants an evil man. And she says, to thee a woman's services are due. That's disgusting. All right, Oswald says, Madam, here comes my lord. And then he leaves. Albany comes in. I have been worth the whistle. Oh, Goneril, you are not worth the dust which the rude wind blows in your face. Oh! I fear your disposition that nature which contemns its origins cannot be bordered itself in its bordered certain in itself. She that herself will sliver and debranch from her material sap perforce must wither and come to deadly use. She's really letting her have it. So we're going to highlight in green. No more, the text is foolish. Wisdom and goodness to vile seem vile. Filths savor but themselves. What have you done? Tigers, not daughters, what have you performed? A father and a gracious aged man whose reverence even the head-lugged bear would lick. Most barbarous, most degenerate have you madded? Could my good brother suffer you to do it? A man, a prince by him so benefited, if that the heavens do not their visible spirit send quickly down to tame these vile offenses, it will come. Humanity must perforce prey on itself, like monsters of the deep. So he is really letting into her. He's like, I know what you and Cornwall and Regan have done. That's terrible. Lear is still the king, even though he gave us the kingdom and told us to lead. He is still king, and look at what you're doing to him. If we are not punished by the gods, we will be punished by man. Goneril says, milk-livered man. She calls him a coward, right? That bearest a cheek for blows, a head for wrongs. Who hast not in thy brows an eye discerning thine honor from thy suffering, that thou knowest fools do those villains pity who are punished, ere they have done their mischief? Where's thy drum? France spreads his banners in our noiseless land with plumed helm that thy state begins to threat. Whilst thou, immoral fool, sit still and cries, alack, why does he so? So she says, coward, France is coming to take over your kingdom, and all you're doing is sitting here and saying, what are we doing to King Lear? We need to be nicer to our father. See thyself, devil. I love that line. Proper deformity shows not in the fiend, so horrid as in woman. O vain fool! Thou changed and self-covered thing for shame, but monster not thy feature. Were it my fitness to let these hands obey my blood, they are apt enough to dislocate and tear thy flesh and bones. However, thou art a fiend, a woman's shape doth shield thee. He says, if I could, I would hit you so hard. But he says, I can't because you're a girl. And then she answers him and says, marry thy manhood the mew. So she makes fun of his genitals, right? I'm going to highlight in green just so we know that he is so fed up with his wife, he wants to hurt her. And we'll highlight this in green as well. So marry your manhood, Mew. So she sneers at his idea of manhood. So a messenger comes in. What news? Oh, my good lord, the Duke of Cornwall's dead. Oh, there it is. I told you he was going to die. Slain by his servant going to put out the other eye of Gloucester. So we're going to highlight in green. So that's plot stuff. Gloucester's eyes? A servant that he bred, thrilled with remorse, opposed against the act, bending his sword to his great master, who thereat enraged, flew on him, and amongst them fell him dead, but not without the harmful stroke, which since hath plucked him after. So he said, told him what happened. This shows you are above, you justicers. So he's talking to the gods. Finally, justice from the gods. That these are nether crimes, so speedily convenge. But, oh, poor Gloucester, lost he his other eye? Both, my lord. This letter, madam, craves a speedy answer, and gives Goneril a paper. 'Tis from your sister. So Goneril goes off to the side. One way I like this well, but being widow and my Gloucester with her, may all the building in my fancy pluck upon my hateful life. Another way, the news is not so tart. I'll read and answer, and then she exits. Now, this is an interesting line. So Goneril is worried now because she has set her eyes on Gloucester. And she's like, I'm going to get rid of my husband and marry Edmund, right? Edmund of Gloucester. And then I'm going to be wife to the most evil guy in the play. But now her sister Regan doesn't have a husband either. He's dead. And she has a better claim on Gloucester because she's a widow and now she can remarry. Goneril still has a husband that she has to take care of. So I don't know why this got highlighted, but I'm going to delete it. She exits. Where was his son when he did take his eyes? Come with my lady hither. He is not here. No, my good lord, I met him back again. Knows he the wickedness? Ay, my good lord, what 'twas he informed against him, and quit the house on purpose that their punishment might have the freer course. So now it's all being revealed, and Albany is like, oh boy, we've all been played. Like, I get it. And Edmund was in on this plot, and he's plotting with my wife, and all the evil people are working together. Gloucester, I live to thank thee for the love thou showest the king. He's talking about old Gloucester, original, OG Gloucester. And to revenge thine eyes. Come hither, friend. Tell me what more thou knowest. All right, so that's all we are going to read for this video is scene 1 and scene 2 of Act 4. Stuff are happening. We're on the downward slope of this play, so past the climax. So I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you make all your annotations. Bye.